So 29A we did yesterday. The one thing that I am not for sure if this hour or what hour we had, but I just want to make sure that we talked about that since x right here is in the negative quadrant, that would have been negative square roots of 3. This is your y is negative, so this would have been negative 1. And so your answer, since it is cosine, your adjacent over hypotenuse, would have been negative square roots of 3 over 2. Alright? Questions on that, on why it's negative? Alright. B. B says sine of 120. So the first thing you want to do always is to make sure you get into the right quadrant. So 180 is all the way here, so 120 would be there. You always take it to your x-axis, and so we need to find out what angle that is. So how do I find out what angle that is? 180 minus 120 is right. So 180 minus 120 is a 60 degree. So since that's a 60 degree triangle, we have, yep, it's a 60-30, and that's the right angle. We have across from our 30 is 1. Right here is the square root of 3, and then that is 2. And so now we just have to think about this one right here, since this is my x-axis, and this is negative. This is a negative one. This is my y, that's positive. So it stays like this, and now I just have to do the sine of it. So we have opposite over hypotenuse. So I have opposite, which is your square root of 3, over 2, and that's our answer. Alright, so we have C is tangent of pi over 4. First of all, the first thing we have to do is put it into degrees. How do I convert this to degrees? What does pi equal? 180. So that's going to be tan of 180 over 4. And so I have 180 divided by my 4 gives me a 45 degree. So that's a 45 degree triangle. So 1, 1, square root of 2. First quadrant, everything's positive. So now we just have to do the tan, which is your opposite over adjacent. So opposite is 1 over your adjacent, which is also 1. So it equals 1. And you can always remember tan of 45 then in your calculator is 1. You can always put it in your calculator first, and as long as it's not a decimal, you can always just throw it in your calculator. If it is a decimal, then you have to figure out what one it is. So that is 1. We have here sine of pi over 3. So you have sine of pi over 3, so you go sine of 180 over 3. 180 it's a 60, so sine of 60. So that means we really are taking first quadrant. So there's a 60 degree. So it's our 60-30. So across from it is 1. This is square root of 3, and this is hypotenuse of 2. Sine is opposite over hypotenuse. So opposite is your square root of 3 over 2 again. E is cosine of 2 pi. cosine, so what does this equal? Yep, 360, because it's 2 times my 180, which is 360. Since it falls, it's here and it goes all the way back around. It falls on my unit circle. It falls on my x-axis. I can just go in my calculator and go cosine of 360, which I get 1. Also remember that this is 1 comma 0. Your x value is your cosine, your y value is your sine, so that also tells me that it's 1. And the last one of this is f is tan of 360. Plug that into your calculator. So I got tan of 360 is 0. Questions on those? Alright, so 30, it says, what is the law of sines? Hopefully you have not only did it on your paper, but you also did it on your answer key or your cheat sheet. So you have sine of A, big A over little a, is equal to sine of big B over little b. Law of cosines is, and it could have if you wanted to, but I usually don't. You could have that other sine of big C over little c, but I only put 2 because you only can use 2 at a time. Law of cosines is c squared equals a squared plus b squared minus 2ab cosine of big C. Remember that the big ones are your angles, little is your sides. So if it's capital, it is your angle. A period, remember, of sine or cosine is 360. So hopefully you have written that on your cheat sheet so that you know when you get to that problem on your paper that you know the period is 360. Questions? Anybody not have this? It says find the exterior of a circle, exterior of a circle with the center of 9, 5, radius of 2, and we're looking for the exterior. So hopefully you would flip your paper over. You know it's a circle, exterior is right there, so we are putting it into this formula. Hopefully you have on your paper that it's the opposite of the center when you're putting it into your equation. So you are putting in your x, whatever's in your x spot goes with x, whatever's with your y goes with your y, but opposite sign. So I'm going to have x minus 9 squared plus y minus 5 squared is greater than my r squared, which is 4. It says state whether the 45, state whether x squared plus y squared minus 5y equals 25 is a circle, parabola, ellipse, or hyperbola. So remember, when you are determining figures, we use this. So we're going to do A, B, and C. So A is 1. B, what is B? 0, because B is in front of XY. There is no XY, so B is 0. And C is also 1. Now, some of you might have noticed that right away, A equals C and B equals 0, so it is a circle. If you didn't know that and you put it into your equation, what's going to happen is it's going to be negative, but remember, when it's an ellipse, you have to make sure that it's not a circle. So it is A equals C and B equals 0, so it is a circle. Say it again. Remember, an ellipse is all things that could look something even like this thing right here. That's an ellipse. A circle is a special type of an ellipse. A circle is actually, because all it is it has the same A and the same B, so it creates your circle. So a circle is a type of an ellipse. So once you did the b squared minus 4ac and you found out that it was negative, that you are right when you first thought it was an ellipse. But your second thing, and that's why it's underneath it, if it's an ellipse, you have to check, and you might want to put like an arrow. If it's an ellipse, you have to check to make sure that it's not a circle. A circle says that A equals C and B equals 0. So it is an ellipse, but what type of ellipse? It's the special type of circle. So that takes it one step further. Not all ellipses are circles, but all circles are ellipses. All right. All right, 46. 46 says to state the equation for this circle right here. So the first thing is, what is the center of this circle? 3, 0. And the radius is 3. So since we know the circle, and we know it's a circle, and we know the center, so we would go to this formula right here, a circle with a center right there. So we remember opposite signs, so I have x minus 3 squared plus y minus 0 is just y, so y squared is equal to 3 squared, which is 9. It says to graph this. First of all, looking here in this part, what does this tell us it is? What type of graph is x squared plus y squared? A circle. So remember that this is telling us we have the circle is between the radius, because these are our r squared, so the radius of 2 and 4. Because you have to take the square root, because this means that it's r squared. So r is 4 here, and r is 2 there. So I'm going to do this one, and because there's no equal to, it's dotted. And this one has no equal to, so that's dotted. So it's going to be 2. I'm going to go 1, 2 out, 1, 2 out, 1, 2, and then I'm going to dot it. And that's my first circle. My second one will be 4, so that's 2, 3, 4, and it's dotted. And then it's shaded in between. Yep. Graph x squared plus 25 plus y squared over 9 equals 1. Looking at that, what type of graph is it? Is it a circle, a hyperbola, an ellipse? It's an ellipse. Because this is plus, and there's a division on the bottom, we know it's an ellipse. Remember, with A, always go x. So A goes with x, so that means A squared is 25. That means A is 5. B squared is 9, so B is 3. Because B goes with y. So then I'm going to count out 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then 3. And then draw your ellipse. Find its area. After you know it's an ellipse, down here it says the area of an ellipse is A equals, well, I put the A equals, but you just have pi AB. So it's pi times A times B. A is your 5, B is 3. So you can put 15 pi, or you can do it out if you choose. And it'll depend on what it does on the test. It says, what are the equations for the asymptotes of the hyperbola here? So we're looking at the hyperbola right here. Asymptotes are down there. It says y equals plus or minus b over ax. So I'm going to go y equals plus or minus b over ax. What is A? A is 3, B is 4. So now we just go y equals plus or minus 4 over 3x. Hopefully you guys all know that this means y equals 4 over 3x and y equals negative 4 over 3x. That's what that plus or minus means. It means this and that. Alright, next it says to find the sum of integers from 1 to 200. So what are we going to do? How can we find the sum of the integers from 1 to 100? Where are we going to find that on our sheet? Anybody know?
Yeah.
Where?
Bottom right versus sequential series.
Arithmetic or geometric?
Arithmetic.
Arithmetic. So if you did not know, what I would do maybe is you can say this is for, what would I write if I were you? If I didn't know, I probably maybe would put, for this one, I maybe put an arrow there. And I would write maybe like the sum of integers. So you know that you can use it for the sum of integers from 1 to whatever. So you can write that on your little, so you know that that's what you're going to use. So you're going to use the sum one right there. So it says S of n is equal to your n over 2 an plus a sub n. So n is the number of terms. So how many terms do we have? We're finding from 1 to 200. How many terms do we have? 200. Our first term is 1. Our last term is 200. You throw that into your calculator. 20,100. If you go on an Excel document, just so you know, there is a button that looks just like this at the very top. Remember that this is called sigma, but what it does is it's saying to add, this also means like sum. So you are adding the numbers from 1 to 4 into the series. Now if I were you, if it has an I personally think of it as an X. Because when you see an I, to me, I think of it imaginary, and it's not. That's not what it is. Right here, it's a variable, and variables can change. So I would personally change it to an X. So then all it's saying is to put in the numbers in here. So it's 1 cubed. So you're literally going 1 cubed, 2 cubed, 3 cubed, and then 4 cubed, and getting numbers. So you get the numbers. 1 cubed is 1 plus your 8. Plus 3 cubed is your 27, and 4 cubed is 64. Then you go through and you add all of these up. Evaluate means add them all up. So if you add them up, you should get 100. Evaluate means solve for, figure it out, add it up, whatever you want, how you want to think about it, but that's what evaluate means. Consider the image of x squared plus y squared equals 1 under a scale change of 5, 2. What's the new equation? Well, that equation is down here. So remember, equation of unit circle under AB scale change is this. So if you need to put scale change on here, do what you need to do. This is if that's a scale change, if you need to write that there. So that's a scale change. And so A is 5 and B, A is 5 and B is 2. And remember, it is your ellipse equation. So it's x squared over a squared. 5 squared is 25 plus y squared over b squared. 2 times 2 is 4 equals 1. A Richter scale. If you have a Richter scale, what are you talking about? What does a Richter scale deal with? Magnitudes, but what's the scale? Does anybody know, remember what it goes up by each time? Remember a Richter scale, it kind of looks like this, and that's what when we were talking about in the book, it goes up each time by what? Decimals of 10, right? So remember that, so it's going up by 10, so it's saying that this is, when it says that it's if it's a magnitude of 8.5, it's saying that it's 10 to the 8.5. And they want to know what's the difference if they had a 10 raised to the 4.3. So what you're doing is these are exponents, so you're subtracting the exponents. So you have a 10 to the 4.2, and then you throw that into your calculator and you get 15848.93. What is the difference between a sequence and a series? A sequence is a set of numbers separated by what? Commas. A series is a set of numbers or a list of numbers separated by what? An addition sign. All right. Convert pi over 4 to degrees. So what does pi equal again? 180 over 4. Throw that into your calculator. You get 45. Remember that pi equals 180. The first thing, hopefully, you guys, when you see the absolute value sign, you have to, and if you need to, write it on your paper, but an absolute value sign is going to give you a type of V. The first thing you want to do is you want to find its vertex. The vertex is where you look to see what's with your x value, but what makes this 0? So what makes this a 0? 2. So if 2, we have 1, 2. If 2 is our vertex, to find the other points of your V, you should take one to the left of it and then one to the right of it. So if I was only picking 3 points, what I would do is I would pick the 2, which is 0, then I would pick 1, and I could go 1 minus 2, which gives me a -1. Absolute value of that is 1. Then I would pick 3. 3 minus 2 is 1. Absolute value is 1. So I would go 1, 1. And then I would go 1, 2, 3, 1. And make my V. Alright. Two other things that I want to... Did you need that? Did you need that, Wes? You get it? Remember that on your chapter review, and I thought I had it here. Oh, it's right here. On your review, we have here, this is from your Chapter 11 review, number 14. Larry's parents gave him $43, $56, $62, and $77 on his birthdays. He puts the money into the bank, and they want you to write a polynomial in terms of x. This is important, so that means your variables is going to be x. Just so you know, when it says in terms of x, you're going to, and now it tells you where x represents this. At that point, it doesn't matter that it represents this, which describes this situation. So, we want an equation, so write a polynomial. So we're writing an equation. So remember that he's getting 43, and then 56, and then 62, and then 77. Alright, so when he gets this money, he puts it in the bank, and then he comes back the next year, and he puts this in the bank, so this one was there once. Then when he gets the $62, he puts this in, the $62, that's in once, this one will be in twice. When he came back, he put the $62, the 77, so that's once, that's your twice, that's your third, that's been in there 3 years. So your answer to that would be like f of x is equal to 43x to the third plus 56x squared plus your 62x plus your 77. Then it says now he is going to get 5.25 interest. How much will he have on his birthday? So you're literally just putting in, for your rate, you're going to put in 1.0525. And then you put it in for your x. And if you put it in for each x and you cube it, you should get, let's see, oh, this is 14, 254, 42. So all you're doing is you're putting this in for every x and then putting it into your calculator. Questions on that? And the last thing, and I'll look later, but I'm pretty sure that I've YouTubed 13.1 to 13.6. I will answer any questions, though, that you might have on 13.1 to 13.6. But remember, 13.1 to 13.6 and this problem right there are not on your review sheet, but they are on your test, on your exam. Any other questions that you guys have?